Okay, when we're adding integers, there's a couple things we need to remember. The first is about negative and positive direction. Now obviously when we're moving in this direction to the right, we're moving in a positive direction on the number line because we're moving closer towards positive numbers all the time, or moving along the positive number line. And when we're moving to the left, we're moving in a negative direction because we're moving closer towards or along the negative number line. The other thing we need to keep in mind is operators and indicators. In particular, operators and indicators are going to tell us which direction we are actually going to be moving along the number line. So, the first part that we're going to realize when adding is whenever you are adding and you have a positive indicator, you are going to be moving in a positive direction along the number line. Whereas if you have a negative, whenever you're adding and you have a negative indicator, you are going to be moving in a negative direction on the number line. I'm going to give you a couple examples to demonstrate. Let's say, for example, we have the equation negative 4 plus positive 5. Well, what we can see here is that even though we're starting on negative, because we are adding and we are adding a positive, we are going to be moving in a positive direction. So if I were to start here at negative 4 and I were to move in a positive direction on the number line, I would simply start here and I'd be moving 5 spaces in the positive direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get an answer of positive 1. Let's see how the opposite works. If I were to have an equation like positive 3 plus negative 5, I see that my operation is addition. So if I'm adding and I'm adding a negative, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be moving in a negative direction on the number line. So I simply start at positive 3 and I'm going to be moving in a negative direction 5 spaces to come up with an answer of negative 2. There are slightly different rules when we are subtracting. So if our operation is subtraction and we are subtracting a positive with a number with a positive indicator, what ends up happening is we are actually going to be moving in a negative direction. And whereas when we subtract a negative number, we are actually going to be moving in a positive direction. Now that is kind of a difficult concept to understand, so I'm going to have to give a couple of examples in order to make things a little bit clearer. So for example, if we are subtracting a positive, let's say we started with a number of 1, positive 1, and we subtracted positive 3. Because we are subtracting a positive, we know we are moving in a negative direction, so we are moving to the left. In this case, we would start at positive 1 and we would move 3 steps to the left, 3 units left, 1, 2, 3, in order to get an answer of negative 2. Well, if we wanted to say subtract a negative, let's say for example we had negative 1 and we were subtracting negative 3. We know that we would actually be moving in a positive direction on the number line. So we would start at negative 1 and we would move 1, 2, 3 to get us an answer of positive 2. We're going to take a look here in a second to see just exactly why that is. To better illustrate why it is when we subtract a positive, we're moving in a negative direction, and when we subtract a negative, we're moving in a positive direction, we can use some drawings of some integer tiles. So this equation here, we have positive 1 minus positive 3. And remember, what we like to do is we always like to start with a number of 0 pairs, which I like to refer to as a bank. Okay? So we are going to start with 4 sets of 0 pairs. So these being the positive and these being the negative. As of right now, I am demonstrating positive 1. Now, my operation tells me that I actually have to take away. And since I have to take something away, it's telling me what I have to take away. I have to take away 3 positive. So I'm going to erase 1, 2, 3, and now I'm actually left with my answer. I've got a 0 pair here, which cancels out, a 0 pair here, which cancels out, and I'm left with my answer of 2 negatives. So that is how we can illustrate that positive 1 minus positive 3 actually moves in a negative direction. Now the same thing can be said if we are going to subtract a negative. So let's say, for example, we had negative 1 and we wanted to subtract negative 3 from our answer. Well, we could start off with our 0 pairs. And I'm going to always like to start with at least 4. Okay? And I'm going to demonstrate negative 1. Okay, so these are your 0 pairs. This is negative 1. And now it tells me that I need to minus or take away 3 of those negatives. So I take away 3 negatives, 1, 2, 3, and I'm left with 2 0 pairs that cancel each other out, and I'm left with 2 positives. So therefore, if I start here at negative 1, and I take away 3 negatives from that, I'm actually moving in a positive direction, 3 units, 2 in the positive direction, which gives us an answer of positive 2.
I'm going to go in.